Hey YouTubers, Rob here with another look at another C64 racing game. Continuing the recent sort of mini series, you can see it's Crazy Cars 3. This is a 1992 release, and I was actually surprised to find that this got converted to the C64. I played a lot of the PC version back in the day, and compared to the first two Crazy Cars games, this was actually really good fun. So I'm actually impressed to see it's on the C64, and B, surprisingly, it's a very good conversion. So, it's a lot more in-depth than the first two games, especially the C64 port. So I think it's better if we dive in and show you how everything goes before getting into racing. So first thing is you've got these characters. The idea is there's sort of a lot more of this racing against other people. It's not against the clock. So now it's a case of you're racing other drivers and there's sort of divisions and leagues, which actually adds a lot more depth to the game. You know, you're not just racing against the clock to get to as many stages as you can. Now you're racing these divisions and trying to rank up to the top division to win. So you start out in the bottom division, Division 4. We'll see once it loads up. And here's the thing, the loading's a little annoying. Normally, I try to use original dumps of games for, even though emulating for the reviews, but here, I had no choice, I couldn't get an original set of disk images. So we're up, and this is just sort of map screen. So you can start off, you're in Division 4, which is the lowest. To go up to the next division, you need to actually complete the division challenge, which is this purple star, which is indicated by this purple star on the map. And the idea is you now have to earn $50,000 to buy a pass to get into the race. So you can see I start off with $6,000. I don't like the fact that this cursor is black, it doesn't fit that well. So you start with $6,000, and all these spots on the map, and these other spots on the map indicate the races you can and can't do. The yellow stars are ones that you can do, you've got the money to buy an entry into, and the red ones are the red stars indicate races you can't afford yet. So if we have a look, pick an easy race, and you can see this race in the Mojave Desert. I've got just enough money to be able to afford to enter, and I'll get double it back. There may be some police, and some driver. So let's do this race to start with. Before we do, I'll run through the other items on the screen. So, Drivers menu lets you see your standings, how you're going against the other drivers in the division. Options lets you save the game, which I was actually really surprised by. I didn't expect that at all. Bypass is where you buy a pass into the division challenge, the purple star on the map. The shop lets you buy upgrades for the car. You can get things like a police scanner, extra turbos, and other performance upgrades. And the garage lets you repair damage. So there's actually a bit more depth to this game. So let's dive into this race and get going. You can see, you see everything come up. This is the thing, these graphics, like, I don't know how well it's going to be on the video, but I was actually using a custom graphics mode where there's a bit of some custom graphics tricks, not a custom mode, but where there's the sort of like the wobbling to make it like appear sort of a little more detailed on a TV. Running it on an emulator on an LCD monitor, you kind of lose the effect. So here we are. Let's dive into the race. Start loading. And one of the things I was surprised that they brought over, I wasn't sure what they had, was the whole this whole next little mechanic, which should come up now. So before you race, you have to bet. So the idea is you're putting your money into a pot with the other competitors in the race. My turn, okay. So the idea is, my character is on the left, I'm now putting money, so I put a bunch of money in. And the idea is it's like a game of poker or the likes. You need to get them to put as much in as you can. Unfortunately, I put way too high to begin with, so they all gave up. Which means the idea is if you win the race, you actually get all that money as bonus on top of your winnings for the race. Okay. Alright, now we're loading. We have to actually switch discs. Thank goodness for flip lists. So yeah, the first two Crazy Car games were just single loaded, single file loads. Now we've gone from a single file to 2 whole disks, which is kind of impressive. And now we're about to get into the racing. Well, no, we're still loading. Sorry. The loading's really unpredictable, and I don't have a drive indicator when the Mac version of Vice is running full screen, so oh well. They should have counters. Anyway, now should be getting in there now. This is the downside, of course, of playing games on a system like the C64. You've just got so much loading. Alright, now we're into the race. And this actually looks awesome. So they've used a lot of sort of graphics tricks. Up the top, of course, it's that same sort of shifting to produce slightly more detailed image in the status bar. And I don't know how well it'll come off in the mountains that just behind the hills at the moment, but you've actually got a bit of color shifting, so technical sort of fakes having extra colors. And compared to the first 2 games, the sprites look good. There's actually music now. You just get some sound. You don't really get sound effects for collisions. One of the likes of the cars are actually you don't collide and fly into the air like in the first game, and you don't explode on contact like in the second game. So just the basic panel, you've got top left you see your own avatar, or in this case the avatar of the closest driver, closest competitor. So let me get to a spot. Then you can see your damage indicator. I think I've just been... That border flashing that back there was, I believe, just being picked up by police radar. You can actually get an upgrade that gives you sort of the radar warning. And I believe at the end of this race I'm going to be asked to pay a fine, unfortunately. Then you've got your score. In the middle section you've got your score and the distance remaining. Unlike the first 2 games, it's not about the clock, but rather it's about getting to the end of the race without your car being destroyed. And then on the top right you can see those slots indicate when you've bought various upgrades from the shop. And of course at the bottom we can see our current speed. So I mean the game looks a heck of a lot more colourful than the first 2 games, and it feels, controls feel really good. They feel nice and responsive. I feel like I'm not fighting the car like I was in the first 2 games. I feel like I don't get stuck on corners. It is a minor thing, but the vanishing point feels a little low to me. In the sense that it doesn't join the horizon, which it feels like it should. And much like in the first 2 games, it's still the camera doesn't follow the car, rather the track. I don't know, I feel that definitely does feel a little weird, and maybe made the illusion that's a little harder to control than it is. But all in all, the controls feel really solid. The game feels like a good challenge. These early Division 4 races are a little slow, and I think to get up to Division 3 it's going to take a long time. But I'll see how we go if we can actually get up there. The other thing, of course, is that these races are actually quite a long time, and I don't want to use all my turbos because you don't get those refilled each race. You have to actually upgrade them. The interesting notice was that I originally was going to look at this. I actually loaded up a tape image of it. I just had that. It was around. It was in the directory for the first 2 games. And one of the things I noticed, the game is completely different. This in-game engine was all the same music, same graphics, but they actually removed the whole divisions system. The game would load up and you just go into race after race, and without the challenging, without that whole structure, the game, it was sort of like racing without a purpose. So I do have to give some thumbs up to Titus and the team who converted it, for actually doing, like, putting extra miles in and actually bringing the whole game structure across. I mean, yeah, like, graphics-wise, the only other thing I think is a little may or may not be a downside is just the fact that they went for the roadside and the objects on the side of the road are a little blockier. But honestly, might be me, but I find the fact that they move so fluid, I think that's a little price to pay. I would rather have I'd rather have the speed than the resolution here, and I think they made the right decision. So we've now finished the first race, which of course means before we get back to, yep, as I said, we've been pulled for speeding. So I will now have a fine paid out of my winnings, unfortunately. So now we've done with that, we're going to see the post-race results. And post-race results is basically, again, your sort of stats and who won the bets, and all of that. So you can see, come first, I've got my $8,000 prize money. I got my $800 from what I put back, but I've lost a fine, so I've ended up at $9,000. I ended up at $9,000. So done that. You can see now here's the post-race results, which you can scroll through. And right now, there I am at 8 with 3 points. There's a lot more drivers than I thought originally. And now we're loading back to the map. So a few things is, you would have seen during the race I got damaged, got a little bit of damage, so I need to be able to fix that. But I also need to be able to have the money to be able to enter another race. One advantage of trying to do these smaller races is that they help as sort of final backup in case something goes wrong. But also, they also help you to get started. So, in this case, we've got $9,000 and we've got a couple spots of damage. So let's go to the garage, fix our damage. And so we can sort of see how this is set up. Is you've got the damage meter, $100 to fix every unit, and speed loss. So ideally, that's just enough to. I'd rather start a race with a clean slate. So now, we're not going to really be able to afford an upgrade. So best option at this stage is just dive in for another race. So we'll go and pick one once we've loaded the map and get to it. Let's go. Interesting, this time it's a snow race, so I'm not sure what effect that'll have. So the interesting this time around was that I didn't have the opportunity to bet against any other opponents. Maybe it's just because this was a fairly bottom rung race, at least looking at the entry fee and prize money. It looks like it's just a scenery. Oh, no, I was wrong. There actually is a lot of... The car feels a little harder to control now, so... Whoa, oh! This is probably not going to end up well for the damage bill, that's for sure. There we go. What is it? The physics in this sliding actually, they feel good. Like, I feel like, yeah, I'm not, I actually feel like I feel like I'm out of control, like I'm not 100% in control, but that I can sort of that I can actually fight to regain it. So again, the game is just feeling that much more playable than either of its predecessors, which is actually really good news. One thing I like in terms of the visual design is the fact that all the opponent cars, the cars that are your actual race opponents, stand out from the sort of generic cars in it. So these brown cars are the generic cars that you need to avoid. Well, we won't see them, but the opponent cars are all white, so and they look similar to your own. Ooh. That's something behind her I like as well. I think I may have already mentioned it, and may be rambling, but I like the fact that there's some physicality to these opposing cars, that you can actually bump them, and it's not like in the first game where colliding with them would send you just flying sky high and out of control, or in the second game where you just explode. It just adds a sense of a physicality to the whole thing, which is actually really impressive. I mean, I would have thought, by 1990, this is a release from 1992, by that stage, a lot of the larger publishers they weren't really putting in the effort with their Commodore 64 conversions. The money wasn't really there, so you try to get something out as cheap as possible, don't really worry about it, and focus on the 16-bit computers or the game consoles. And here, the fact that they've really converted this game well, it's sort of actually, I'm actually quite pleased and quite impressed. Like I said, until I actually played this, I did not even know this came out. I mean, I was importing magazines from the UK at that point. So had it actually been reviewed, I would have remembered seeing reviews for it, but I don't believe I ever did. If it had, I probably would have been disappointed. By that point, it was almost impossible to find games here to buy, so it would have been I want that, but I can't get it. Maybe I'll have to try and hunt down a copy over the internet and see what it feels like on a real TV. Hunt down a copy to buy and see how it runs on the real hardware. Because yeah, I'm actually really impressed with this. I'm enjoying. I find it, like I said, I find it controls well, and like the problems that the first two games had felt like they were just being rush jobs. And here it feels like the team who converted it actually cared. So it's you know, it's that love, it's that attention that makes the game feel that it's worth playing. Something else I like is this damaging. You get damage, and you've seen that there was the whole speed loss. So you know, if you get damage, you're getting your speed loss. So at this stage, I think it's gonna take it's a lot of play if I was gonna actually play the Division Challenge. I don't know if it's worth that. I think I might wrap up here. If you do get to the end, if you get to this point, I'd love to know actually, should I do a longer playthrough? I kind of think it's going to take a long time and a lot of editing to get rid of these horrible, well, not horrible, but to get rid of the loads, just to go, oh. Okay, so in this case, we've won again. No prize money. That's a bit disappointing. So, we've now, where are we now? Oh wow, I've gone down to 16th as a result. I think that's pretty much a wrap. This is Crazy Cars 3. It's surprisingly good. So if you enjoy racing games on the C64, might be worth checking it out. I definitely feel like I want to come back to this in another day and actually have a really good play of it. It's the big highlight of the trilogy, and it's like, yeah, I'm just really impressed with how good it is. So yeah, if you've made it here, I'd love to know if you think I should do a longer video, going more in depth, trying to do a Division run. Let me know. Comments, like, subscribe, check out the channel, look at the other game I'm working on at the moment. And as usual, thanks for taking the time to watch it, and I will see you next time.